Hello everyone, and welcome to Lancelot's Nerd Corner, where I'm proud to present another 6-scale figure review. Today, we're going retro. To take a retrospective look at Deadshot Special Edition by Hot Toys, and I'm really glad to be giving you my honest and detailed account of the figure. Now, this figure was originally released all the way back in 2017, 6 years ago, so I highly doubt it will be in stock anymore in places you shop at. But the purpose of this retro review is more so to give you an idea of what you can expect if you do decide to pick this figure up today, and to investigate just how well this figure holds up after all this time. Now, let's start with the utterly fantastic Will Smith head sculpt, which has great sculpt work all around. The likeness is spot on, with accurate proportions of the nose, lips, and brow. The only minor inaccuracy I would say are the eyes, which seem to bulge out a bit too much. There are also great details of wrinkles, veins, and even muscles at the back of the head to add realism. The beard is sculpted tremendously, especially because African American hair has a different look and texture than other types of hair. The only gripe I really have with this head sculpt is the expression, which I think looks a little too worried and doesn't really speak to the character of Deadshot in the film. And I think a more confident or toughened expression would have been much better. The paint application is terrific, with the visible and detailed skin texturing, as well as an accurate skin tone. However, I do think the beard could have been painted a tad bit darker to truly reflect the on-screen appearance. And lastly, the head sculpt is fixed on the neck. This head sculpt also comes with an additional accessory of an aiming device, which can be fitted over the left eye and the earpiece in the right ear. It is a bit of a tight fit though, so do be cautious so as not to scratch the paint. And for such a small accessory, it is nicely detailed and helps to add even more character to an already great head sculpt. But we're not done, because Hot Toys provided an alternative masked head sculpt, which is also spectacular, and this one can be articulated independently of the neck. It sort of looks like a combination between a ski and a hockey mask, which is exactly how it looked on screen. It has a sculpted texture all around, with the gray accents on the sides having a different texture, almost like tire treads. There is faint weathering in some places, although I would have liked to see more grime and dirt to really make it look lived in. Lastly, that left eye has that recognizable aiming device, which is sculpted and detailed very well. Now, let's move on to the figure itself, starting with the body, which is relatively lightweight, and unfortunately has a little bit of looseness on the leg joints, especially the ankles. This does make balancing the figure a bit challenging, albeit not impossible, and at least the upper body is very sturdy. The articulation in general is very good, and you can get a variety of aiming/shooting poses. This is mainly thanks to the double jointed elbows, but the shoulders are a bit tricky to get lifted up high, as the shoulder pads collide with the torso armor. Speaking of the armor, this costume is chock full of detail and personality, just like in the film. The undershirt is a bright red combat shirt, made of a soft and very stretchy fabric, which almost has a microfiber feel. It is very tight-fitting to the body, but doesn't sacrifice articulation, still being able to take advantage of the double-jointed elbows without any ugly creasing or damage over time. The sides of the shirt have a thin layer of padding, which does prevent the figure from being able to have its arms flush on the side, but I'm willing to bet most collectors would want this figure in an action pose anyway, so I don't think that should be a big problem. Over the shirt is black plate armor made of hard plastic, which covers the entire torso. It is one fixed piece, which unfortunately does prevent the figure from being able to crunch forward or extend backward. The armor plates themselves have rough texture with details of dozens of rivets and screws lining the sides and corners. There's also a subtle detail of a red crosshair on the left side, as well as a light coat of weathering. The plates also extend upwards to cover the traps and are attached with a buckle. and the armor does have a tendency to ride up, so you may want to push it down occasionally for a better looking fit. On the sides of the arms are round shoulder pads with an additional plate that extends down over the bicep, and a thin strap around the arm holds it all in place. And as mentioned before, the shoulder pads can collide with the torso armor when lifting the arm. The forearm guns are probably the coolest part of this costume and are a signature of Deadshot's arsenal. The forearm gauntlets are made of a hard rubber and sculpted very well, with details of stitching, sculpted texturing, and straps on the inner forearm. The guns then attach on top of the gauntlets, with the outer portion almost looking exactly like the slide on a Glock. It can be slid back and the small magazine on the opposite side can be removed. It's painted mostly a deep red with accents of black and gold around it. And there is a fair bit of weathering, as well as the words "I am the light, the way" painted in the middle. And lastly, the gauntlets do slightly restrict wrist articulation, as they do extend over the hands. Speaking of which, the figure comes with a total of 7 hands, including a pair of fists, relaxed, gun holding, and an individual foregrip holding gesture. All of the hands are in the style of black fingerless gloves, with the bottom half having a striped texture and the palm on the inside being colored red. They are all sculpted very well, with unique creases according to each gesture. Moving down the figure, the belt has a total of 8 magazine holsters with a very rough texture, and all 8 can be fully stocked. The back also has an additional holster that looks like a metal plate, where you can store the 2 black pistols. And this is one of the things that I love the most about this figure, that almost all the accessories can be stored on the figure itself, making it very practical and badass. However, all of the holsters are quite loose, especially the back pistol holsters, so be a bit careful when handling the figure. The pants are black tactical pants made of a thick cotton synthetic blend, with loads of stitching details and pockets all around, which unfortunately are not functional. The left leg has 3 holsters for extra rifle magazines, and the right leg has a holster for the red pistol. Both are also a bit loose, so they might move around a bit, but it also means they are easy to adjust. The knees are covered by knee pads made of hard plastic, with a very faded and weathered look. While they are an important part of completing the whole costume, the straps do restrict knee bend a little bit. Lastly, the black combat boots are sculpted really well, especially the laces, the side, and midsole. They are painted very worn and weathered, making them look like Deadshot's go-to pair of boots, and the left boot has a holster where the tactical knife can be stored. Now that we've covered the entire figure, let's go over all the accessories the figure comes with. The figure comes with the 8 hands and aiming device that we already covered, as well as a display base, assault rifle with 3 extra magazines, 1 red pistol with 4 extra magazines, 2 black pistols with 4 extra magazines, a tactical knife, carabiner, and Batman's rebreather and handcuffs, which are exclusive to the special edition. The display base is the rectangular Hot Toys base that used to be more standard in the past. The surface is painted to look like cobblestone, while in the front is the name of the figure with the movie name on the left side and a crosshair on the right. It also comes with an additional prop of a stop sign, which does seem to be made of metal. This does mean the edges may be dangerous, so be cautious when handling it. And lastly, it uses a standard crotch grabber. The assault rifle is my favorite accessory and serves as a great display piece. It's meant to look like a modified AR-15 with loads of sculpted details that are accurate to both real life and the film. It's painted deep red with accents of gold and black and is very weathered, with details of faded paint and scratches all around. There is some faint writing of that familiar phrase on the barrel, as well as some articulation with the stock and magazine. And lastly, the strap is functional and can be slung across the body, but it is a bit of a nuisance for me, so I may just end up removing it. The red pistol is a heavily modified custom Glock with a compensator and red dot sight. The slide has a hexagonal pattern and the grip has a rough texture, which is very well sculpted. This particular weapon has more of an equal ratio of red to gold to black, and is also nicely weathered. The black pistols are also Glocks, but much more standard and very true to life. The sculpt work is incredibly accurate, even down to the littlest details. However, I do wish they were weathered a bit more, as the paint app is a little too clean. The tactical knife is a small plastic accessory that still boasts impressive sculpt work, especially on the grip. It might be a bit strange that the blade itself is painted black, but it still gets the job done as the tip is quite pointy, so do be careful. The carabiner is a small plastic accessory, and I'm going to be completely honest, I'm still not entirely sure exactly where it goes. I'm almost certain it's used for the rifle in some capacity, but it will be kept in the box for me. However, it does still have good paint app and even good weathering. Lastly, as mentioned earlier, the rebreather and handcuffs are exclusive to the special edition release. The rebreather is intricately sculpted and weathered appropriately. There's also a peg in the back, so it can be used for either the Suicide Squad or BVS Batman. The handcuffs are just made of plastic without any real notable sculpt work or paint app. However, there is still a bit of articulation as the cuffs can be opened and the entire accessory can be folded in half. Hot Toys did an incredible job translating the vibrant and detailed on-screen costume to 1/6 scale, producing both a functional and badass looking suit. Combine that with the two fantastic head sculpts and a slew of cool weapons in his arsenal, this Suicide Squad Deadshot is a great representation of the world's greatest marksman, even after all this time. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this retro review helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.